Okay, so today we're talking about Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and some massive news that has dropped for this game online from the ESRB of all places, but we now know of a major gameplay mechanic that is intact that we didn't know was there, and I had theorized about it when talking about this game, but really I had my hopes set on the lower end of actually seeing it show up in a meaningful way, and it's still up for debate on if this is a meaningful, deep mechanic that's layered throughout the game, or maybe just very slight sections where it's intact. But we will fully unpack the story, fully unpack exactly what was said. But one thing to be aware of is there is some minor spoilers with the story, because Nintendo has not revealed this particular part to us in any official format yet, other than, again, the ESRB of all places kind of puts it out in plain text. Now, I am very excited to see the confirmation, of course, that Zelda is not only going to have the massive brand new installments that are AAA open world and aka the future of what the next Tears of the Kingdom style game will be, but rather this Echoes of Wisdom was a big deal when it was revealed at the June Nintendo Direct, because it confirms Nintendo really giving their smaller development Zelda teams still a chance to craft something entirely new. Of course, we were expecting there to potentially be additional remakes and remasters in the franchise, like maybe the Oracle games will get that Link's Awakening art style treatment one day and get dropped into one pack together. Maybe we'll ultimately see that happen with Minish Cap and then Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, and we might even get a port one day for A Link Between Worlds. Like, Nintendo likes to go back to their classic Zelda games and re-release them on new consoles. That's nothing new for them, and I think that we will see a handful of Zelda games get the remake or remaster treatment over the upcoming years. But this was notable because we're getting a brand new 2D top-down Legend of Zelda game with an original story, and of course the biggest kicking point around this story is that we're playing for Zelda for the first time. The Tri-Rod and everything they showed off looks really cool and unique about this game, and it's exciting that there's kind of this Tears of the Kingdom puzzle element where in that game they took the creativity of the player, how you want to solve the puzzles, and actually leaned into how you get out of dungeons and shrines and everything for the progression around the game, and kind of left it up to you as the player. Like, how I solve a puzzle in a shrine and how you solve a puzzle in a shrine in Tears of the Kingdom can be two completely different things, but they both get you to the desired endpoint, and that's essentially what Nintendo is advertising for Echoes of Wisdom. With the way that you play as Zelda, you might be in intense combat with directing enemies to attack for you, or you might be throwing out new items to actually fend off all of the enemies that are attacking you, and how you get up to different points of the mountain and the landscape there is going to be largely based off what the player decides to do. And also, it's cool that there's verticality in this 2D top-down Legend, I guess 2D is the wrong word, but let's just say top-down Legend of Zelda game with an original story and original gameplay mechanics. Like, this is honestly probably one of my most hyped 2024 games at this point, if not really just walking away with it already. I know I'm going to enjoy this game probably more than anything else that's been released so far and anything else that will come out that we know officially right now from Nintendo, so I'm pumped for this game. But one thing we theorized, and this is kind of the minor spoiler warning point, if you do want to click off the video, that's perfectly fine. We're going to be talking about stuff that Nintendo hasn't necessarily officially revealed to us at this point going forward, but I had talked about the idea of whether or not we will only play as Zelda for the entire story, or like we saw in that opening cutscene, could there be a world where we are also controlling Link? Because Link's very much there at the beginning. We just know that he falls into the Shadow Realm, whatever that's called. I can't remember if they outlined it exactly, but Link is gone for the adventure, and it seems like we're playing as Zelda. But is there a point where we meet back up with Link and we are fighting maybe together and alternating who gets to play what? And maybe there's specific bosses that Link fights and specific ones that Zelda fights? Or is there kind of a story mechanic where at certain points in the adventure you're playing through Link's perspective in that dark underworld that he got trapped in, and at other points you're playing above ground as Zelda herself and trying to find Link, and ultimately they do unite and take on Ganon together? Or the last possibility, and probably the most, I would say, disappointing if it is just implemented like this, is are we only playing as Link during the opening cutscene and we get a brief action snippet from him, but then we're really not playing as him as the rest of the game? There is that slight possibility, but I don't think that the ESRB would have made this description the way they did if you were only playing as Link briefly during the beginning of the game, and I also don't think Nintendo would have really fleshed out all of his mechanics and items if Link was only playable for a very small portion at the beginning of the game. So to get on the same page with exactly exactly what's been said here and read through the exact description together, let's quickly hop over to My Nintendo News and read through their detailed type of article around this. ESRB description for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom confirms Link as a playable character. The highly anticipated The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is not too far off now and has subsequently received a 10+ rating from the Entertainment Software Rating Board. What's more interesting is that the rating summary reveals Link as a playable character in the game. It's not clear whether Link is only playable at the start of the adventure or if he becomes playable later into it too. We will probably find out nearer to the time of release, which is September 26th. The rating summary reads as follows. This is an adventure game in which players assume the role of Zelda as she attempts to dispel rifts throughout Hyrule and rescue Link. From a 3/4 overhead perspective, players explore various environments while fighting stylized enemies, example, humans and creatures. As Link, the big notable word there, players use a sword and arrows to defeat enemies. Zelda can use a magic wand to summon creatures, example, wind-up knights, pig soldiers, slime for battle. Some enemies can be defeated by being set on fire, other creatures dissolve into mist when defeated. Battle sequences are somewhat frenetic with several enemies attacking/fighting at once. Okay, so playable Link now 100% confirmed for Echoes of Wisdom, which is very exciting, and according to the rating, it specifically mentions Link's swordplay and arrows. Now, it does not mention any other inventory items, and would those be the only items that we can actually use as Link? That is a possibility if this is on the smaller side of the adventure where we're maybe only playing as Link for a brief moment in the beginning point in the game, but it did say Link taking on enemies, and we only see Link in that opening segment from what I can tell as the fight unfolds with Ganon. That said, there's a whole dungeon that leads up to that point, so maybe we're just playing as Link as a normal adventure and we start off the game as him with only our bow and our sword, and we go through the dungeon and ultimately make it to Princess Zelda, and that's where that big opening cutscene unfolds. That could also be all this is, but I am willing to bet, because it is mentioned in the ESRB description, that Link at some point in time for probably a decent chunk of the game will be somewhat playable in some way, shape, or form. So I'm like super on board with this idea. I mean, I was very excited already about Zelda being the main protagonist in one entry in this franchise. I don't think she has to be playable every game from here. Like, it's fine if they utilize her or if they don't going forward. I'm excited to see a different take though with the tri-rod mechanic and everything you can do creativity wise in a top-down new original Zelda. That's all very exciting to me, but there has been that thought in my mind this whole time that, gosh, the Link looks so cool with the cloak that they had on him in the opening cutscene. I hope we at least get to play as him at some point in time, and that's now confirmed. And I'm just hopeful that maybe there's entire swaths of the game or sections that we get to where you are entirely playing from Link's point of view for a notable amount of time, like an hour or two of progression, and then you switch back to Zelda. And could the final boss fight, when we ultimately wrap this game up, be Link and Zelda together? Essentially, you're teaming up, and maybe Zelda gets trapped at one point of the fight and you overtake Link at that point, and then back to Zelda, and then maybe you land the final blow towards Ganon together. Like, these are all very real possibilities now. And what I'm kind of thinking is, if we are playing as Link even for a decent chunk of this game, it'll probably be a more simple approach. Like, I do think that sword and arrow comment kind of makes sense, that maybe Link doesn't have his slingshot and fire rod and boomerang and all of the other items that you typically find throughout dungeons, because I think Zelda's going to get most of the new items in this game. And well, I mean, it seems like everything's kind of an item for Zelda with the tri-rod, so we'll have to see how that all unfolds. But I think that Link will be a meaningful part of this game now following this description, which is very exciting. It's just probably going to be more tied to specific combat with enemies and your bow and sword, and you're not necessarily tackling entire dungeons as Link, but you also might be, because we don't know. But this is a big confirmation from the ESRB that I was not anticipating, and it backs up that idea that maybe Nintendo is looking at this as, yeah, Zelda's the main protagonist, but we're going to have sections of the game where you're still playing a classic Zelda game Link style, and I'm all for that personally. So this got me that much more hyped for this game to come out on September 26th. I personally can't wait for it. It was definitely one of those wow games for me at the June Nintendo Direct, where we got the confirmation that we were getting a top-down Zelda with an original story where you play as Zelda. Like, that was honestly a shocker to see confirmed, because there was rumors around it and I kind of started to buy into them less, and it turned out to be exactly true. So very exciting stuff for Zelda fans. Very exciting piece of new news from the ESRB, and that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What do you think of this? Do you like the news and confirmation that Link is going to be a playable character at some point and up to some level in this game? And what level do you think that will be taken to? Do you think we're playing large chunks of the game at certain points as Link, Or do you think it will be much more limited and maybe only the opening cutscene, and again maybe at the end if we meet up with Link again? Or do you think that there's going to be some back and forth, and maybe you're playing as Link in the underworld as part of the game, but then you go back to Zelda in the overworld, and that's kind of the two different sides of the coin that they're trying to create with this Hyrule here. So all very exciting stuff in my opinion for us Zelda fans. So thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. Make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. So I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation, and I will see you guys in the next video.